Well, good afternoon. Today I have with me Bill Potts. Is a motivational speaker, creative business leader, energetic community builder, and a dedicated father and husband. A five-time cancer survivor, he pursues life and all that accompanies with it with the utmost passion and drive. While his kids call him sometimes slightly embarrassing, I wonder why. They also admit he's the toughest man we have ever met. He loves his job. He wakes up each morning expecting an A plus day because every day is an A plus day, no matter the circumstances. He has held executive positions at IRONMAN Group and Clearwater Marine Aquarium and lectured on marketing at Tulane University, where he earned his MBA. He is the co-author and managing director of marketing agency Remedy 365 and an Ironman triathlete. He is proud advisory board member of the Halo House Foundation, which provides affordable housing for cancer patients, and a longtime volunteer at his local homeless shelter. Bill and his wife, Kim, who are parents of three adult children and a sweet dog, Pippa, live in St. Petersburg, Florida. Good afternoon, Bill. It is
Good
a pleasure
afternoon.
to see you again.
Francis, always a pleasure to see you.
Yes, people don't know we did it before, but now we got it right. So
hmm
you want to, did I tell enough about you, or would you like to tell us about your journey with cancer, what type of cancer you have?
Yeah. Thank you for the kind introduction, number one, and thank you for having me on your show, number two. But my cancer journey started kind of unexpectedly 20 years ago when I went to my primary care physician. He looked at me, said, "You got a lump on your thyroid." Turned out to be thyroid cancer. So I had that thyroid completely removed surgically. And then I went through radiation ablation treatment with iodine 131, which is the same radiation that was released by Chernobyl. Interestingly, I thought my cancer journey was done. And I came back from a business trip to Europe in 2008, looked in the mirror to shave, noticed a lump below my ear that turned out to be stage 3 lymphoma. And so I went to shifted my treatment then to MD Anderson in Houston, and my cancer got put in remission in 2008, and the lymphoma came back again in 2014, and then it came back again in 2019, and then in July of 2020 I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and then in September of 2020 my lymphoma came back again. So that's 6 times with cancer, 5 times beating it. I'm fortunate that the latest lymphoma is currently in remission for 15 months, and who's counting? So my journey has been anything from what I expected, but I am fortunate to have great medical care, great support group, and grateful to be on this call.
How did you make your treatments more comfortable? Because I
Yeah, I
know you
learned.
went through treatment as I did, but did you make yourself more comfortable with it?
Yeah, I learned. Obviously, I've been doing this for long time, so I have a lot of experience. And so I've learned some of the tips that I've learned when going in for an infusion. Simple things like not eating too much the day before, not eating a big breakfast if you're going in, before lunch. I also learned to wear comfortable clothes, no belts. I always had some slip on and off shoes so I could take my shoes off. I always took in noise canceling headphones. I always took in water and some snacks in case I needed something. I always wore a baseball cap so I could keep the light out of my eyes. I also wore button-up shirts and zip-up sweatshirts. Always had sweatshirts with me so that it would be easy to access my infusion port or my arms if that's where I was getting the infusions. So I also learned the hard way not to plan to do anything else during the treatments except rest and handle the treatments. Maybe some TV if they have one in the room. Can't really read during them. For sure, I can't work, though the first time I thought I was going to work.
Right.
And it's a great time to kind of be focused on yourself. I always try to develop a relationship with the care team that was in the infusion center that was handling me that day. My treatments, in many cases, would take a long time, so I was set up for a lengthy day. And I think the best thing that I learned too was to expect the unexpected. And if I was planning to be in and out in 4 hours, you know, who knows? It might be four, it might be six, it might be eight. So to be really flexible, plan nothing else that day, and to always have somebody with me, a buddy. In my case, that was my wife, to try to manage things if the care team happened to not be available.
How did your wife respond to the first diagnosis?
Yeah, the thyroid cancer. We were all pretty cool about it because we thought, hey, it's thyroid cancer. We'll just take it out, do the radiation, and I would be cured. The lymphoma has been the bigger challenge because my particular version, Francis, isn't curable, so it keeps coming back. I think there's a real cumulative impact on my wife and my kids, from having to deal with this. My kids only know me as a cancer patient; they don't remember that, so they've kind of grown up with it. But I think emotionally, it's been really challenging on her because she's got to be the tough one. She can't get sick. She's got to take care of me. And, the best thing that she's done to take care of her own emotional and mental health is to have other activities. She worked until just recently. And she also has her group of friends, has her tennis, she exercises. All those things I think have really helped her dramatically in dealing with it. But I can't even imagine. I think sometimes it's harder to be the caregiver than it is the patient.
Right, right, right. How do you advocate your journey with other people? Because I know you share your story with other people, and you have to be the beacon of light. Can never
Mm.
look down, no matter how you feel. Because I look at you as the beacon of light from the first conversation.
Thank you. It's hard, look, I am super grateful, and I know how fortunate I am to be able to have the opportunity to speak with people about my journey, and that's really become my purpose, right? Is to try to help others through learn from my mistakes, and also help others really through this book, which really is kind of the what to expect when you're expecting. But for cancer, it's the book I wish somebody else had written, for me when I started my journey. And I think that purpose in my life really helps me kind of go through it. But sometimes it's really hard. I mean, sometimes I don't really want to talk about it. This is not a topic that I particularly like to talk about, but it's ironic because now I wrote a book about it, and I'm trying to get the book into as many hands as possible.
Would you
But
like to would you like to tell them about your book?
yeah, it was
Up.
created kind
Right.
of, yeah, up for the fight, how to advocate for yourself as you battle cancer from a five-time survivor. And the genesis of this book was an emotional breakdown I had September 17th, 2020, when I was in the recovery room at Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida, after major surgery to remove a tumor that was below my hip. And so I woke up from that surgery having an emotional breakdown. I mean, it was full-fledged sobbing and tears and crying. And the nurse, whose name was Jen, she came over and she's like, "What's up?" And I said, "I'm not sure I'm up for the fight. This is the sixth time I've been diagnosed with cancer, the fourth time with lymphoma. I know what's coming, and I'm not sure I'm up for it. I want to fight." And so she grabbed the pastor, and we really worked through the reasons why that I needed to continue the fight, which was my friends, my family first, and my work. And then, really, first is to make God proud. And so it took about an hour, but I kind of reconnected with my whys. And at the end of that hour, the pastor says, "Hey, Bill, you ought to turn your pain into purpose. Why don't you write a book that can help others?" I thought about it. I'm like, okay, well, once you commit, particularly to a pastor, you're committed. And so I had to find a publisher. And I was lucky enough to find a publisher that would get behind it, not just because they believed in the message of the book, but they got behind it because they believed in the power of the book to change lives, and they committed a lot of resources to help me write it. I don't call it my book, I call it our book. And the publisher is Page Two out of Vancouver, Canada. And they were so sweet because I wrote it while I was going through chemotherapy and I was taking a beating. And theirs were days and weeks I couldn't write. And so they were really flexible. And so we actually developed two timetables for completing the book. One was if I wasn't going to make it, which is what I wrote to, that schedule. And then the other was if I made it. So I got it written really early. So we had plenty of time to edit it, but it was a real sense of accomplishment for me to get it written. And now my purpose is to get people to read it, because with 100% certainty, every cancer patient or the family in front of a cancer patient that read it will get something out of it, and it will improve their journey.
It's funny how you go through things and it becomes not something you want to talk about, but it becomes a purpose in your life, a journey that you never expected, but you become so passionate about it that you want to share it with the world. Because I never wanted to talk either, but
Yeah.
it's just like you're going through it. So if you could help somebody else, you're going to do it. And it is painful to talk about because I find it painful too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
as I always hear, I just had a conversation and with you before where they say you're cured and you're not. So
No.
please explain to the audience that we don't get cured, we go into remission. And they should see from your 5-time journey that you were not cured, you just went into remission. And you
Yeah,
just,
cancer is, a technical term is no evidence of disease, right? So they can't find it, NED. But, cancer can be kind of tricky. It smartens up. And in my case, the lymphoma could have been a result of my thyroid treatment. So you get second or third cancers that come from your initial treatment. So you have to always be on guard because you never know. And even if they say no evidence of the disease, you're looking pretty good, as a patient, you never stop thinking about it. You may not think about it all the time, but for me, it's every day I think about it, because every day I take a pill to replace the hormones from my missing thyroid. So I am reminded every morning of the battle. But it is something that you carry with you for the rest of your life, even once you are in remission or no evidence of disease. So every ache or pain or lump, you start thinking, hmm, which is an interesting way to live,
yeah,
but you kind of have to be
yeah,
that
tell me
aware.
about it. Because I find myself always thinking about that, because I see people and
Mm,
they be like, I'm cancer free. And I'm trying to figure out what doctor did they go to that told them that they were free. They didn't explain that it's just a remission. They should learn from Olivia Newton-John. She had it.
mm,
She was she was in remission and it just came back. So
mm,
that's why I said I wanted you to explain it, because a lot of people, when I tell them, they don't understand that we are not free. We are just in remission and we just pray we stay that way.
mm.
Now, let me ask you, I know I went through my journey, but I'm sure, and I'm going to ask you, what did God play into this whole big story? What part, what did you think when you found out? Did you get angry with God?
No, I really never got angry. It's like, you got to play the cards you're dealt. And so he provided me great direction on how to do things. So if you trust him and you pray and listen to him, then the decisions that you make are going to be the right ones. But he directed me from a local oncologist to in Houston to MD Anderson, and then with the COVID pandemic to Mayo. And I'm telling you, outside of my initial thyroid cancer treatment, which was not MD Anderson or Mayo, I've had world-class care and a world-class team behind me. I do also think that the faith has really helped me in the sense it took me a while, but to get my head and my heart around the potential of dying. And I think, not being afraid to die, which doesn't mean I want to die, but through my faith, not being afraid of it really has helped me out in so many ways. And I think the book, the ability for the pastor to suggest for me to write a book and that become my purpose when that's basically all I could do was go through treatment and try to write. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't exercise. I could barely walk. Was really spectacular. So it's been a journey, not just my journey. It's our journey.
Yeah. Did you change your diet and exercise during the, well, first you had the thyroid one. I'm sure you were able still to exercise that, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I had to take a few months off because I got beat up from the radiation a little bit. But I've always been pretty active and lived a
Oh,
pretty healthy, active lifestyle. But after the lymphoma piece, I dialed it up again. I really 3 years after I was diagnosed with my first lymphoma at stage 3, I did Ironman Texas, which is a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and then a marathon to prove to my family that if you set your mind to it and set goals and work hard, that anything is possible. And that healthy active lifestyle is continued. I can't do those types of distances anymore. I have a hard time on the cycling because of the prostate, but I have kept active, and my diet continues to get better and better and better. I'm making improvements on it all the time. I would say now my diet on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being perfect, is probably an 8.5 or 9. Not too much red meat, not too much dairy, a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, lean white meat. It could be better, but it's pretty good. And that has all made a big difference. And I think in particular, the exercise, throughout the journey, according to the doctors, has made a difference. My resting heart rate is pretty low. I'm actually always training when I can to be able to be ready physically for when it comes back, because I know I'm going to take a pretty big beating. So I want to be as ready for it as I can. And I'm doing that. I'm continuing to do that day after day. I continue to stay in shape because it's my stress relief, but also it's because what I need to do to be ready.
okay. And I know you said you had thyroid cancer 20 years ago, but your children, they had to go through the rest of the cancer as they were growing up. How
Mm.
did they deal with it? I know your wife, she had to be your strength and your tower, but were your kids your strength and your tower as well?
Yeah, it kind of evolved. I mean, when they were little, elementary school, middle school, even up through high school, it wasn't really until late in high school or early college for them that I was full disclosure about what was happening. I always would kind of give them the Cliff Notes version, the top line version, but I didn't want to worry them. So I really did give them the uncut version of what was happening. It really wasn't until the last couple cancers that they finally got it. And I think they really got it this last lymphoma, because I mean it was ugly. And I think as they matured, they had a better ability to process it. And I think what it's done for our family is it's really tightened us up. I mean, we're pretty tight. Two of the three kids, wrote some advice in the book for kids of cancer patients, which I found to be super helpful. I have encouraged all of them to get outside support where they can, to also try to live the healthy, active lifestyle to reduce the stress. It's been remarkable how over the last few years they've kind of circled the wagons around their father and have helped hold me up in certain situations, which has been really rewarding.
That's a good thing that you have a family that supports you.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard for them to understand when you're little, but as they got older, they did understand what was going on. I'm sure they did a lot of research like I did. Did
Yeah,
you
they
did you
did.
do
And
a lot of research too?
yeah, but I'm really careful about where I do it. And
Oh,
so I don't I struggle with just Googling things. And so I recommend people that are recently diagnosed is to lean into those organizations that have already vetted the information. For example, my lymphoma is a blood cancer, so the Leukemia Lymphoma Society has a great website with a huge amount of resources related to blood cancers. And so those articles and that research, is going to be scientifically vetted. The same with prostate cancer, same with all the cancers. They all have their organizations that can kind of give you a great, not only a source of information, but resources for support too. Early in my journey, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society was super helpful for me, helping me with travel and immediately when I said I was diagnosed with lymphoma, kind of diving in and kind of being there if I needed to be there.
Yeah, because
So, yeah.
cancer, well, they're all bad, but you're always immunocompromised. And I found out yesterday that I was too. I found out
Oh,
if you have cancer, you're always susceptible to your immune system is always susceptible, even if you're finished.
yeah.
My,
My particular,
my doctor
my
yelled at me yesterday, so that's how I found out.
sorry about that. Yeah, it depends. I guess it really depends on your treatments and things like that. But my cancer is an immune system, and my treatment wiped out my lymphocytes, and so they're kind of slowly rebuilding. I would be on the scale of severely immunocompromised. So I've had to be super isolated. It's been kind of lonely, but for a couple years. But my dog Pippa, she sure loves time with her dad.
Take her outside, right? Do you take
Yeah,
her?
yeah. Oh yeah, I take her out for walks. I'll take her to the park when it's cool enough.
Okay, okay. So you can go and get some fresh air. So we don't want people to think you're just in a box, that you do go out, but you're careful about when you're going outside of what to do.
Oh yeah, 100%. So, depending on what the surge is, I know I can eat outside at a restaurant if I'm not around too many people. Can't
Oh,
really go into can't really go to the bathroom, but hey, it's yeah, and I can go for walks, I can go for runs, I can go for smaller bike rides. So, no, I've adapted pretty well. Living in Florida, basically I can be outside 365 days a year. I can have friends over, we just sit outside and it's all
so
good. Yeah.
so you're not like the boy in the bubble. You're not in this.
Yeah, no, thankfully though, last week my entire outing was I rode with my daughter to the gas station. I didn't even get out of the car. And she's like, "What'd you
Oh,
do did you get out this week?" I'm like, "Yeah, outside of my running." I'm like, "Yeah, I went with you to the gas station." She's like, "Dad, that's not enough." So last night my wife and I went to the park and sat by the water and watched dolphins, and then we watched a kickball game at the local park, and it actually felt great to get out.
I'm sure it did. It's always good to get out and get the fresh air. See, up here up north, it's hard because it's only the summertime when it's nice. But I go outside all the time. I have to go out. I get cabin fever. I
Yeah.
really do. Yeah, so I go out. Yeah, let me see what else. Wait 1 minute. I think we talked about everything. I think we did better this time.
You're so awesome in what you're doing. Your purpose, Francis, is great because you have the ability to help change lives through your journey, which is pretty powerful. So thank you for doing it.
Well, I'm thanking you because, as I stated, my mother, she had lymphoma.
Mm,
And she was a nurse, and she was like, go look up that medicine that they're
mm,
giving me. And I found it to be very toxic because you're
mm,
finding out exactly what this stuff is doing to the body.
mm, mm,
But because she had sarcoidosis, which she took steroids, she had no immune system.
mm,
So she already knew the outcome,
mm,
and she was ready for it. She
mm,
already knew.
mm,
And then I told you before, my aunt, she had some blood disease, and I believe she might have had multiple myeloma.
mm,
Apparently, this blood disease that she had, it attacked the whole body.
mm,
Yeah, but she was smoking, so I was like, when I read her autopsy, which I shouldn't have, but I saw that she smoked a pack of cigarettes a day.
mm,
And yeah, so I'm saying, and then it said that this cancer went through all the bloodstream. So I'm
mm.
thinking maybe she had a rare form of blood cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I met you and you said you had lymphoma, it reminded me of my mother
Mm,
because actually she wasn't able to explain to me exactly that lymphoma could go anywhere.
yeah.
She had it in her throat. Then
Mm,
I like you said, you really do have to be careful about the research you do. because you'll get one answer here and one answer there.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked it up and I saw that it can attack your body is full of these lymph nodes.
Mm-hmm.
So it can attack, the cells attached and you'll get something. Well, like
Mm-hmm.
my son said, it was like a cold. That's what the doctor explained. It's like a cold. Some people could fight it, some people can't.
Yeah.
So that's why it was important, and I was elated to speak to you
Mm.
because I've never heard of multiple myeloma until I met somebody with it.
Mm.
And she would always say, "You can't come near me."
Mm.
She would keep her distance. She won't
Mm-hmm.
hug or anything
Mm.
because she actually goes for the infusions,
Mm.
for the bone marrow transplant or the bone.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, and she filmed.
Hardcore.
Yeah, she filmed it. I was like, wow. And
Mm.
she filmed it. And then I see she takes what I take, Zometa.
Mm.
And I was like, why are you taking it? And then I found out it's for the bones.
Mm.
So you don't take Zometa, do you?
No.
Take
Mm-mm.
anything for your bones.
Mm-mm.
You just take a pill.
Yeah, I just take a pill. It's all I take a day is one thyroid pill. So knock
Oh,
on wood. That's all I need. I've tried to obviously going through treatment. You're taking a lot of anti-nausea meds and pain meds and things like that. But now that I'm done, I try to only take that one pill a day. So far, it's not every day. Some days, I'll need an Advil or Tylenol, but not too often.
so you just take your one pill and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, because I mean, when I first found out, I was scared. And then the
Mm,
doctor was like, Francis, this is not, your mother was 20 years ago. Things
mm,
are different now.
mm.
Even though it was breast cancer, I was spooked out because I saw what she went through with that chemo. And you went through chemo as well, correct?
Yeah, I did. And what I tell people is the longer I live, the longer I will live, because you're right, and the doctor's right. The advances are so dramatic and happening so quickly. I mean, I got immunotherapy in 2008 as a clinical trial back when nobody had ever heard the word immunotherapy. They were inventing it. And so it didn't become public really until 2009. So, part of what I'm doing is I'm buying time for the treatments to catch up with my cancer, because the cancer gets so smart that it continues to adapt to the treatments I'm getting. So, each treatment gets progressively harder. But I do think there is a case where I can be hopefully in permanent remission where I have to worry
You're
less about
permanent.
it coming back.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm praying for you, for
Yeah.
permanent.
Thank you.
So you
Yeah.
can tell the world and travel the world and tell
Yeah.
them about your journey.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's what I'm praying for. Because
Thank you.
as I said, you've been a big encouragement to me,
Mm,
especially when I went to the doctor yesterday and I had to get checked and I was like, oh no. But the doctor was
mm,
like, you're fine.
mm,
Because I told her I'm always doing my own self-examination. She was like, it's not every day, Francis. It's once a month. Yes. Yes, but I
I'm
do
glad
appreciate,
you're okay.
and I will be advocating for this book. I will put
Thank
your
you.
bio in the end so people will know who you are and how can they reach you. They can reach you at Bill C. Potts, I know.
That's right. BillCPotts.com
I
and
know.
or Bill at BillCPotts.com, and send me a note. Tell me what you think.
Okay, yeah, we want to know. This is Bill, my friend, my new friend.
Uh,
Yeah,
you're my friend too. Thank you.
yes, we will be keeping in touch, and I'll be praying for you every
Yeah.
day.
Back at you. Back at you.
Yeah, one day I'll get your wife on here. We can hear her story.
She's amazing.
Yeah. Has she been on the podcast? Has she told her part?
No, no, she hasn't. She wrote the piece of the book,
I
but
know.
outside of
That's
that,
why I asked her. Tell her she has to, the kids, they have to get on here all together. Let us
all
know.
right, we can
Yeah.
get
I
we
would,
can we
I
can
would
we
like
can
to hear them and see how they handle this journey.
okay, we can make that happen.
Okay, so I am going to post this up today, put the
All
book
right, thank you.
information in there so people could start reading Up for the Fight by Bill C. Potts.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. Thanks
Okay,
for
you bet.
having me as your host, and thanks for being my guest.
Thank you.
All righty. Have a good day. I'll
Okay.
speak to you. Okay.
All right. See you. Bye.